Welcome to the Five Things Podcast. My name is Shawn.
And I'm Alisha.
And you don't need me to introduce you this time?
No.
And my lovely wife.
I prefer that, but I can deal without it.
And my wonderful assistant. Isn't
Lovely.
she beautiful, folks?
And then I would do some jazz hands. And I would say, Alisha!
And then I'd say, abracadabra.
Okay. I didn't know it was a magic show.
It is now. I'm the
right.
great manifesto.
That's a good one.
Yeah? You like that?
Sure.
Every so often I come up with something off the top of my head, and it's just like, great.
Totally.
Let's try and do alliteration now.
Okay. Magnificent.
Manifesto?
Yeah.
I guess I grabbed that from Streetlight Manifesto.
I'm pretty sure
now
you
I'm thinking
did.
about that.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It's okay.
It's fine. It works. For my next trick.
We're going to talk about...
So last week we talked... This should become a regular segment, I guess, like what my wife does that makes me laugh.
Oh. What do I do that makes you laugh?
Well, last week it was Reddit, right? We talked about
yeah, I guess you're right. I started doing Reddit.
Your new Reddit habit.
But I've actually stopped. I haven't done it in a while.
What? You're talking about it like it's a bad thing.
I stopped already. I haven't done it recently.
I've given it up.
Yeah.
I've kicked it.
I've kicked the habit.
So I thought this was pretty funny. Occasionally, Alisha will go and get mani-pedi or whatever.
Duh.
Which...
Oh, sorry. I don't get a mani-pedi. I just get a pedicure and a latte. I get a latte and a pedicure.
Why do those two things go together?
Because I sip my drink slowly and carefully as she gives me a pedicure.
Do you talk to the...
No. No, I usually read my book.
It's
I
a
read a book
silent
on my
affair.
phone. I read a book on my phone, slowly drink my latte, and get a pedicure. And every now and then she's like, look, very nice. And I'm like, yep. And she's like, how are you today? And I'm like, good. And you? And she's like, yep. And I'm like, busy day? That is the extent of it, you know?
You don't carry on like regular gossip.
No. Sometimes I talk to people. One time I've talked to my mom on the phone for half an hour while getting a pedicure. And sometimes I go with my mom or my friend Kylie, and we talk.
I guess that in the salon like that or whatever, they're just used to that. That's...
Yeah, most people, I mean, some people talk, but it's not, a lot of people just relax.
So anyway, what I found so entertaining was not the fact that you get pedicures.
Correct.
Because I have no problem with you having cute, pretty toes.
Thank you.
I wouldn't call you exactly like a girly girl.
I am so girly. I am the most ladylike of ladies.
But that still doesn't fit the point I'm trying to make.
What's your point?
You bought a magazine.
I did. It was a mistake.
No, wait. What is the name of the magazine?
Okay, first of
Come
all,
on.
it was called Lucky.
Lucky.
I know nothing about it, and Sofia Vergara was on the cover, and it was all about fall color, and I was like, okay, I love to wear bright pink
Is it
with
a
red.
fashion magazine?
It's a fashion and shopping magazine.
Fashion and shopping.
I hated it.
Who is it targeted at?
I don't know. Society girls who have
what
millions of dollars
age,
or something.
I guess I'm asking.
I don't know. I really couldn't tell. I mean, it would have to be young professional women because nobody else has that kind of money to throw around.
Okay, well, see, the thing that I found so funny was what you just said, which is that you made a mistake.
It was ridiculous. Oh my gosh, it was an awful magazine.
You said that, and you kept paging through it.
Well, I wanted to finish it. I bought it.
That's the part that I found so funny.
I mean, it was okay. It's not like I hated everything that was in it. I was like, oh, that's super cute, and like, I could wear
that's
that.
super $800.
Exactly. What the hell? I'm never gonna do that.
Well, see, that's why you buy the magazine.
No, it's not. It was a mistake.
I think
I'm also not really that into style or fashion. I was looking for Real Simple, which has all sorts of lifestyle things that I love. It has decor, and it has recipes, and it has, I don't know, just like life.
Right.
I love Real Simple. I will read the crap out of that, and like everything in it. But they didn't have it, and it was the Holiday Entertaining Guide. I really wanted that issue. I'll have to buy it at some point. And I bought Lucky instead. And I read through it. It was more ads than Real Simple is, and too much fashion.
The whole magazine is an ad.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, I think this is my interpretation of it from over here being
Whatever.
a 20-something-year-old male who knows nothing about this. What I think it's for is young women who would love to be able to buy like $900 skirts.
Right.
But can't. So they buy Lucky and look at all of the fashions and then go to Old Navy or whatever and
Target.
get the equivalent.
Right, of course. Well, I mean, the article that they had, the cover article, first of all, they had, Real Simple does have articles in it at least. This had like 3, the whole thing, and it was all pictures. Because it was like, I wore this. Anyway, Sophia's article, they ended up having the last page of it was about her line at Kmart.
Right.
So, yes.
The whole thing is an ad.
Yes. Real Simple is life advice, and it's great. Everybody should go by Real Simple.
You bought their app.
I did.
Which immediately crashed your phone when you tried to show it to me.
It's fine now. But it's, what was it called? No Time to Cook. And it's not as helpful as I thought. They don't even really have a search. So it's not like I can search for like apple muffins. They only have dinners. But I've got other foodie apps for the other things that I need. Epicurious, Food Network, etc. I have food apps.
I have no problem with you having food apps.
I know. Today I made us awesome dinner from a food app.
Yeah.
That was from my new, the new app I just bought from Real Simple.
We had apples sitting in the crisper drawer for like 6 weeks, 2 months.
I was going to make applesauce, and then I don't have a ricer. My mom we just didn't get a time to make it. So I've been slowly working on them. I made some apple something or other at first.
And yesterday I was like, hey, there are a bunch of apples in here. Use them or lose them. And you were like, apples for dinner. I was like, yep, make a whole meal out of apples. So you kind of took me up on that.
I featured apples in our dinner. We had apple sautéed chicken and roasted asparagus and red potatoes with rosemary.
I will take apples on my chicken anytime that they taste like that.
Yeah, it was tasty.
It didn't really taste like apple. It just had a sweet, flavor.
Yeah, exactly.
More
anyway.
lemon and onion.
Yes.
I'm hungry again for some reason now.
It was our walk.
Right.
Oh my gosh, guys, it's like fall. It's like perfect weather out.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the Montans.
We are, okay. So this is why there was no 5 things this week. Sorry, guys. Monday, we spent the day in New York City, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then my other day off this week, which I would have used to make 5 things, we're going to the mountains. So screw all y'all. I'm going to the mountains.
Family vacay.
Yeah.
My dad always rents a giant house, and we spend a weekend or a few days if we have the time up there, and we go hiking. We have dinner at the house, and it'll be me and Shawn, my dad, and his girlfriend, my brother and a friend, and Andrew, my other brother, and it'll be an interesting time.
Yeah, your dad didn't give us a whole lot of input or notice about this one.
Not really.
Like
he kept on wavering about where he was even going to go. Like, it wasn't until last week that he texted us and was like, here's the house, and it's in Lake Racetown. He was debating between Wellsboro, which is way further away, and Virginia. And all of a sudden, he's like, and we're going to go to Lake Racetown. So, very strange. Racetown Lake, actually, I guess. Let's try and get him to go boating on Saturday.
Let's try and get him to actually make definitive plans next time.
Yeah, he's terrible at it. He's not a good
He's
planner.
not normally. I feel like
he is.
Is he?
He's
Is it just
very
because you
last
were
minute.
helping him in past years?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. A cat is trying to join us on the podcast. Stop it. Stop it. So Monday we went to probably one of my favorite places in the world.
We went to Autumn in New York.
My limited experience. We live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is about 2 hours west
It's
of
the
Philadelphia.
most central place you can find. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very conveniently placed. It's very
2 hours
close to
from
DC.
Philly, 3 hours from DC, and 3 hours from New York. 3.5. It
Three and
depends
a
on how
half
you
or
travel.
4. Yeah, if we took a train, it's probably 2.5.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, New York City is not a very far travel
It's
travel
just traffic
distance.
once you get into the city.
The
or
way we
toward
normally
it.
go, we go to New Jersey and then we take a commuter train,
So
and
it's a 3.5 hour trip.
that works really well. It's very
Inexpensive and nice.
and stress free usually.
Yeah, mostly.
This time we had a bizarre fluke where all of a sudden the turnpike was shut down at a certain exit.
There was that. Yeah. And also our phone's GPS was being particularly strange.
Yeah.
It just couldn't really tell where we were. It was always like if I would update my route and we were on 78 West, I was like, update route, and it would tell me to get on 78 West. And I'm like, I am driving
I'm
on this
there.
road.
Thank you very much.
And it thinks we're like 50 feet to the left on a different road and have to hop on. And I'm like, you're wrong.
Yeah, we went through a tunnel at one point, and all of a sudden the cursor for where we were shot into the middle of nowhere where there were no roads. And I was like, we're in the future.
Yeah.
So anyway, after we did get to
there.
New York, it was fun.
Yes, very.
last time we were there, we made a video about it, and we talked about going to MoMA, Museum of Modern Art. This time we
MoMA.
went to the Museum of Natural History,
Yeah.
it's the American Museum of Natural History is the name of the one in New York. I've been to the DC one more times than I could actually count.
Right. Because it's amazing.
It's great. It's the Smithsonian. It's free entry. You can pay for like IMAX and planetarium and blah blah blah.
Do they have a planetarium?
Planetarium is actually at Air and Space.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, the museum itself is free.
Yeah.
This one is not free.
No.
And probably has some better collections. We were kind of rushed around.
Yeah. We also decided it has poorer displays though.
Yeah, well, I was going to say...
It has some really ancient exhibits that is, like, unfortunate.
The gemstone exhibit at the Smithsonian is pretty small and focused around the Hope Diamond.
Right.
It's like,
'cause
we've
it's
got the Hope Diamond.
We need nothing else.
Right. The New York City gem collection was
huge.
Incredible.
Yeah.
But
the jadeite.
But the exhibit itself looks like it was designed in 1975.
Oh, my gosh, totally.
Everything is carpeted.
Yeah, it's like
all
super
one
mod.
color. The configuration of the exhibit itself is like
too
a maze.
cluttered. It's overwhelming. There are weird focal points that aren't at exhibits. Like, very strange.
You
Not
get to
today.
the back of it and it's a dead wall. The back of it was a dead end. You had to reverse and go out the way that you came.
Yeah, they actually
for
almost
the
all of
entire
them were like
branch.
that. It's a hall where you're supposed to go around it and then out through the entrance, which is not a lot of like the Hall of Mammals was that.
Yes.
When we went to the room with the squid and the whale.
If you look at Wikipedia, it says that the museum is something like 24 or 26 buildings that are just interconnected.
Yep. There's actually a fairly well-known novel that I think it was turned into a terrible movie called Relic and Reliquary, and I had read a bunch of them, and it takes place in there. And the person who wrote the book, I think, actually was an anthropologist and had either worked there or knew enough about it to really talk about it. And it's crazy, and I actually learned at least a basic about the layout that was really fascinating, and you realize how vast, enormous, gigantic, and ancient it is.
Yeah.
For New York, at least. For America, I will say.
We were in the first room that you see when you walk right in the museum. If you look straight across the lobby, you see the elephants in the Hall of Mammals.
Yeah.
And
African mammals.
the most interesting thing, it was Africa. The most interesting thing about that exhibit, I think, was not all of the stuffed animals.
Yeah, let's call them that.
It was the board explaining the exhibit.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
This guy whose name I'm not going to recall right now.
Akeley, something like that.
Yeah, I will link dump this in the info. This guy designed this thing in 1920.
The 20s.
25 or something. It wasn't completed until after his death in the 1930s, and it's basically remained that way since.
Yeah.
And
you can tell me a lot of the exhibits were very old.
This one was old, but I don't think there was anything wrong with this one.
No, not at all.
Like, the animals are gorgeous.
Perfect,
The
lifelike.
dioramas are
they're amazing.
beautiful.
That one that we walked through that was just like climate of North America. That was
like a throwaway.
my gosh.
They need to fix that.
They just had like a wall of seasons. It was like, this is what spring looks like in North America temperate climates. And it was like this weird hole, and then you look further back and there was like a little tiny diorama that was like, this is what spring would look like. You might be seeing it right outside your window.
Maybe it's for, like
educational
Japanese
thing.
tourists or something.
I guess
people
it
who
is.
don't. It's in New York City. I mean,
Yeah. This is true.
Every time I'm in a place like DC or New York City,
Right.
I notice that I almost invariably hear more other languages than English throughout the entire day. Like, if you average it out, I hear 12 other languages and English.
Yeah. And like a star, we get English and Spanish, and that's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Occasionally a little bit of German. Again,
maybe.
Point to the Amish. They've got their own kooky dialect of Dutch.
We do indeed.
Anything else you really liked about the museum? Come on.
Probably the planetarium.
Planetarium show.
I love planetariums, everyone.
They've got this giant, awesome, modern planetarium.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to say at first when they had the space theater / planetarium, I was like, if this is it, I will be so disappointed. And I was like, no, there has to be a planetarium show if they're calling it a planetarium show. But they sent us to this room that just had like 2 pillars that had TVs around them. and just like some
And Neil
seats against
deGrasse
the wall.
Tyson was talking to us.
Yes, but I was just like, what is this? What's going on?
I didn't realize
right
that you
now?
were confused, or I would have pointed to the giant ball outside the
Yeah,
window.
exactly. I was like, no, this isn't it. Obviously, it's somewhere else. I saw the planetarium from another view, and I was like, no, we're just not there yet. But what is this? Why is it dark already? If we're just like, we were basically just waiting in line.
Yeah.
I didn't
It's the
understand.
staging area.
Yes.
But yeah, great planetarium.
I mean, yeah, it was beautiful. The show, it's not like I learned anything new. Every planetarium show
It was
is,
just about stars.
I feel like a lot of them are basically like, you're really tiny, the universe is huge. And it's not like you need to learn that again, but it's incredible to see.
Sometimes
it was
when I
beautiful.
watch those, I feel like they're designed for an American audience who doesn't understand
We're somewhat
the
ethnocentric.
basics of physics and the way that the universe works.
Yeah,
because
it's
I've
pretty
read
huge.
I've read so much science fiction that I'm like, yeah, I know all of this. Like,
Yeah.
this is the way the universe works.
I just love astronomy.
But I think a lot of people will watch that show and be like, what?
There
Really?
are billions of galaxies? Yeah, it's mind-blowing, and Whoopi Goldberg narrated. She was pretty good.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, excellent show. That was probably my favorite part of the day. Not the day. Obviously, the best part of the day was...
Oh, we'll get there. My favorite part, I did really like the planetarium show, but there was one thing that I definitely wanted to see,
Okay.
and that was the meteor room.
Oh, that's right. You loved it.
They have the most massive meteorite on display in the world.
Yeah.
It's 34 tons.
Yeah.
That's really heavy.
Yes, it is.
It's smaller than you'd think because it's just so dense.
Right.
Like if you could probably circle it with like 5 or 6 people holding hands around it.
Right.
It's not that big. But the display itself has a little thing about like it's supported by the bedrock. Like
Yeah.
they drilled
It
all
has
the way
beams
down.
going down to the foundation of the bedrock of the museum, which is crazy.
And then like one edge of it, you can see where someone tried to hack this huge corner off.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like hanging on. Around the room, they have meteorites from like all kinds of other sites throughout the world.
Yeah.
And it had this note that out of all of the meteorites that have ever hit the Earth, they are probably from a total of about 200 meteors.
Yeah.
Because the statistical probability of what we're going to run into in space is pretty low. So we're only going to hit so many, and they're probably
Right.
going to be the same ones.
Interesting.
And so throughout the world, they had one meteor or one slice of a meteorite that there's probably 100 slices of that meteorite that are
Right.
in museums or laboratories all over the world.
Yeah.
Because scientists are very diplomatic and they share everything, and they're
Right.
like, oh, we just got a new meteor, here, slice off 100 pieces
Here's a
and
bit for
send
you.
it to everyone.
Here's a bit for you. I think my favorite part of that exhibit was realizing how recent it was that people believed they actually came from the sky.
That was actually
They probably
really
thought
weird.
that everybody was just crazy. They just thought everyone was crazy, and they're like, "That rock didn't fall from the sky. What are you talking about?" It was like the 1800s
It was 1807.
that somebody was
And
like, "No, this really did fall from the sky.
That
I
was-
watched it happen."
It was in France
Yeah.
that they witnessed actual meteors hitting the ground, and that finally got Europe awake to it. But people
Right.
in America still didn't believe it
Till
for
the
another like
1880s?
50 or 60
Yeah.
years till it actually happened to them, and they were like, "Oh, you weren't joking.
Oh my gosh, this really came from space.
Rocks from the sky."
I get it.
We
I
believe
get
you
it.
now.
Yeah.
Also, in case you read, like I did, a little news article about a meteorite statuette that the Nazis hunted in the 1940s, I just found out that was total BS. Mm-hmm. It was reported as a hoax. That made me really sad because I was reporting that story to Alicia when we were there. I was like, "Oh, the Nazis were looking for this meteorite, blah 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 blah." And then today I saw this headline and I was like, "Oh, that's not true.
Nope.
Not true." And if you didn't hear about that, don't worry about it because it's
not true.
It's not even true.
It was supposed to be a statue of Buddha, which we actually did see several of in the Hall of Gems.
Yeah, they had
Amazing jadeite exhibit, or like space.
yeah.
And it was all different sorts of jade figurines.
And it wasn't just jade. They had
They had a
all
few
kinds
different
of stuff.
ones. Well, jade and nephrite are the same, and I think those are the majority
Okay.
of them.
They also had crystal in there.
Yeah, they had a few crystal, and they were mostly Buddhas and a few other things, but they were gorgeous carvings.
So intricate and
Yeah.
beautiful,
Lacy.
tiny, microscopic
Yeah.
designs.
The etching one was really awesome. There was one that was a seashell. It was a giant conch.
Right.
That somebody had etched into this beautiful Grecian, or maybe, like Cretan something or other. It was gorgeous.
It reminded me of like the Ode to the Grecian Urn, like that
Right.
that kind of design.
Fresco.
Yes. And how many conch shells do you think that poor artist went through? Like he kept cracking through them. Like he was almost done. He's like, I'm almost damn it. He
Start
crumbles
over
it up,
again.
throws it over his shoulder.
Yeah.
That probably happened.
Probably.
The other thing that I was excited about the museum that I didn't think about until we got there was, first of all, the exterior was used in one of my favorite movies, The Fisher King.
Yeah, huh?
And Jeff Bridges is trying to get inside to fetch the Christ chalice.
Yeah.
What is the
I don't know.
word for that I'm looking for? The one that they use
Holy
in
Grail.
Indiana Jones. Thank you. He's looking for the Holy Grail. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. So I thought of that as soon as I saw the building. I was like, oh my gosh, I know the outside of this so well. And then when we were inside and we got to the sea creature exhibit.
Yeah, the squid and the whale.
They have the giant whale hanging over the exhibit, which is just enormous.
Absolutely ginormous.
And that, all of a sudden, I was like, oh, there's a scene in The Squid and the Whale with Jeff Daniels and Jesse Eisenberg standing right where I'm standing right now. And I was like, that's so cool. I'm a movie nerd.
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
You totally are.
Yeah. I recognize things from fake life in real life.
Yes, but it was a great museum. And then it was bordering Central Park.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through Central Park for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was
We just
beautiful, amazing
walked
walk.
diagonally through it to go get dinner.
Yeah. Autumn in New York, fabulous. Do it.
Central Park is just an awesome phenomenon of the city. Like, it is... Walking in New York City is exactly what you'd expect. It's just crowds. Crossing the street, there's always
30 people
lined up
you,
on each
right.
side. The light turns green.
Everybody
and you all cross.
flocks across.
It's exactly what you'd expect. And then you go to Central Park, and first of all, it's filled with people. But
Yes.
it's so big that it's just completely spread out.
Right.
The
You can
attitude
have
is completely
solitude.
different.
Right.
We walked past a place called the Sheep Meadow
Right.
that I don't think I've ever seen that particular field before, but it was just a giant blank field, no trees. And
A clearing.
there were probably like
A lovely
100
meadow.
people just like spread out.
Mm-hmm.
Some people playing
Blankets,
games,
headphones.
people reading books.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
enjoying the weather.
This is New York. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
It was.
I
And then
wish
we
we
went-
lived closer. I don't wish we
Nah.
lived there.
Yeah. Agreed.
No, I think a tiny part of you wants to live there.
A little bit.
I don't.
It was awesome.
I can't. I couldn't handle it. No way.
I actually, I must say, like, they have such a skyline that most of the time during the day you don't, not that you can't see the sky, but like I'm used to seeing the horizon the majority of the time. Like
Yeah.
we don't have skyscrapers surrounding us. Like in New York, to see the sky, you have to go through buildings or straight up. And in Lancaster, I can see all of it all the time.
Right.
So it was just really strange. I was like, I would miss the sky.
I will link dump a local band that made a music video on top of the tallest building in Lancaster.
Hardcore band, by the way.
Yes, and that'll give you a clear view of what our skyline looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we have got like some 8-story buildings. I mean, the Marriott.
10 or 12.
Yeah, the Marriott might be 15.
That is the highest.
Yeah.
That's the highest building.
The parking garage is like 10, so I guess, yeah, it would have to be. I mean, my building is actually...
The elevation of the parking garage is lower.
Yeah.
The square is the highest part.
Oh, yeah, duh. Well, anyway, small town, so we're not used to just not seeing
Bigger
most
than
of
our
the sky.
capital, but yeah, small town.
Yeah. But Harrisburg, it has such a different feel. I realize Lancaster is a more residential town. Harrisburg is more corporate.
It's
like
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the business
That's
world.
probably why it's the capital.
Right. And there are a lot more people work there, I'm sure, than work in Lancaster. Everybody commutes in, though.
Yeah. Our town for 3 days was capital of the nation.
Yes, thank you. It was.
Yeah.
If you ever get asked that on Cash Cab, I saw that. It happened once. You know how they do the red light challenge?
Yeah.
That was one of the red light challenges. It's always name 5 of a list of like 10 things. Right. And one of them was list 5 different capitals of the United States of America. Like Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Columbia.
Columbia?
I don't know. I think they were considering it in the list at one point. That's why it's called Columbia.
Oh, okay.
Columbia, like
Gotcha.
a neighboring town of ours.
Right.
Yeah. I want to be on Cash Cab. We were actually really hoping to catch the Cash Cab, of course. But we ended up not even taking a taxi.
Those people are pre-screened.
I know.
You don't just step into
I just want the Cash Cab.
It made me so sad when I found that out, but it's right on the credits of every show. It says like these people are pre-screened. They know they're getting into the Cash Cab. It's not just a surprise.
Right.
They don't know when they're getting out. That is a surprise.
This is very true.
Because pretty often you don't make it to the end of your ride.
Right.
If you're really good.
Yeah. So after we left Central Park, we went to the main event of our day in New York, which was
the great Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Or were we talking about dinner?
No, dinner was good too. But then we went to go and see Louis C.K., which I'm going to guess like 12% of you must know.
Yeah. Louis a New York comedian in every sense of the term. He's very much a New Yorker. And he loves his city.
Yeah.
And they seem to love him. This is probably his biggest tour yet. And the really cool thing that Louis has done with this tour, and he's been trying to do, period, is he hates the way that big corporations have kind of taken over the entertainment industry. It really bothers him on a personal level. So with this tour, what he did is he sold all of the tickets on his website at his own cost for $45.
With no convenience charges.
No fees, no whatever, just $45 straight for every single seat in the venue at every single show.
Yeah.
And if you scalp your ticket, it will not be good anymore. It is tied to your ID, so that way no one can charge, $500 for a front row seat or something.
Right.
Because as soon as you scalp your ticket, it's void.
Nice.
So he's just really cool dude. I really admire the way that he's gone about doing this, and his show was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
He brought out his friend Todd Barry, who's been on Louis, the show that he makes on FX, and he's also been on, if you've ever watched Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah, he was. I forgot about that.
He's part of a competing band at some point that eventually Dimitri Martin joins. They sing a song about dogs, and it goes something like,
I totally forget.
Woof, woof.
Yeah, that's about all I remember from it. Anyway, dogs, woof, woof.
Todd Barry's stand-up personality is very different from his acting personality. I've seen him or heard him on YouTube or something, and it's just this very dry, quiet, kind of muttery, very, very short joke setup. And he just did some jokes for like 15 or 20 minutes, kind of warmed up the crowd.
It was 10. It was very short.
Was it only 10?
Yeah.
And he was unannounced.
Right.
For all I know, Louis has different people opening for him all week.
Yeah, every night he could.
But this was his first show in New York on this tour. It was Monday night, the early show, and he's doing 7 nights, early and late shows every night.
Yeah.
So he's doing 14 shows. Every single one was sold out. He mentioned the fact that there were 2,600 seats in the theater. So go ahead and do the math. $45 a ticket.
36,000 people.
Okay, that's a chunk of change. He did pretty well for himself.
I'm sure he had to pay the venue, etc.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But as soon as he came out, he mentioned.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
this was at the New York City Center, and he said,
only in New York City could you find a
ballet theater
that you've never even heard of.
You've never heard of. And sure enough, we were looking at our playbills, and this is a ballet theater.
Yeah, it's like fine arts. It's a fine arts theater. They have the symphony and a violin and Bach session, like all sorts of different things.
Right, and it was a gorgeous auditorium. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you have this guy up on stage telling dick jokes for an hour.
Yeah. Yep.
It was way more complex than that. The thing that I really like about Louis is, especially in contrast to Todd Barry, and not to discredit him, he's very funny, but the way that Louis does his set, and probably the reason that he scraps his entire set every time he does a tour, he does a tour and then he scraps that entire thing. Yeah. It's done. He thinks of things he wants to talk about, particular jokes. He started by talking about old women, and then he had all this stuff about old women. And then he made a transition to another subject, but you didn't feel the transition. He's got probably 8 or 10 subjects that he wants to hit in an hour and 15 minutes.
Right, and he'll segue very nicely.
And he's just got a way to make it just one giant piece where you don't feel You don't feel
Right.
the box of the joke.
It doesn't work the way Jim Gaffigan does, where he talks about cake for a while, and then all of a sudden he's just like, "No, I'm done talking about cake. Let's talk about pie." Something completely different. Pie.
Right. Yeah, it's a very unaware joke format.
Yeah.
That it's the same reason that his show is so engaging, because it's not jokey. It's like real
Right.
life.
Yeah.
It's just musings on real life, and especially like New York life. Mm-hmm. I think one of our favorite stories was one he told that he also admitted was completely made up. He lives in an
nicer
apartment
building
building
now.
and he said it had I'm going to give away one little Louis joke if you guys don't mind, in case you're going to
Spoiler. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You don't have to listen.
If you're going to see him on the tour. He lives in a big apartment building, and it's got a nice little courtyard. Mm-hmm. And he said
He goes down there on Sunday morning.
and he's all, bedhead and he's
Sunday,
in
yeah.
sweatpants and whatever, and he's gross. And he got sick of sleeping in bed, so he decided to go sit down in the courtyard and fall asleep. And he sees this guy looking at him who looks much nicer than he does, and he's just like glaring at him in this way,
Assuming
like,
that Louis probably homeless.
why
which
is
makes
this guy
sense.
sitting in our courtyard?
Yeah.
Am I gonna have to? So in his mind, this guy walks over to Louis and confronts him about, like, do you live in this building?
And Louis is just like,
no.
And the guy's like, well, why are you sitting here? Seemed like a nice place to sit. And the guy's like, well, I'm going to go get the security guard.
So he goes over to the doorman and he starts explaining to the doorman. He sees him pointing over to Louis, and the doorman's like, no, that guy totally lives here.
And then apparently the look on the guy's face was just magnificent.
That was the moment that Louis was looking for.
Yeah.
That
Nom 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 nom.
he pissed off the rich guy
Yeah.
who assumed that,
Louis was disreputable and homeless or
Right.
something.
because he probably could totally look like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's scruffy. He's got a beard. Usually got a goatee, but
Right.
sometimes it gets scruffier. And when he's dressed nicely, he's like in a black t-shirt and black
Right.
pants. And
And what it looked like work boots.
I can only imagine what he looks like when he's
on a Sunday morning.
just at home.
Right.
Yeah. But great show.
Absolutely.
Have we only seen like 2 comedians ever?
Yeah.
I guess
Just one.
Mike Birbiglia and Louis C.K.
Yeah. That's it.
And those 2 men are like
Your faves.
my favorite comedians for so many reasons.
Yeah. I really enjoyed both of the shows that we've seen. They were very funny.
They also, both of them have the same kind of style where it's like an entire set. It's an entire piece. It's not
Yeah.
jokes. Mike Birbiglia used to do comedy that was a lot more jokey, and he's gotten away from that now,
Yeah.
which is why I so badly want to see his movie, which is now playing in our town,
Good job, Shawn.
and we should
You
really go
campaigned
see
for
it.
it.
I don't think I had anything to do with it.
Maybe.
It's still not listed on their official website, which I don't understand. I even sent it to Mike, and I was like, hey, dude, put this on your website so that people can see your movie. No.
He'll get there.
He's like, this Shawn Martin kid keeps bugging me.
Get the movie to Lancaster. Well, hopefully you go see it. We go see it. Let's go see it.
We'll go see it. Should we go see it right now?
Let's go.
Okay.
Bye, guys.